Hi, everyone. This is Tisch Aitken, and it is Friday, February 28th, 2025. Wow, we just had the new moon in Pisces yesterday, and it occurred yesterday evening at 7:45 p.m. at 9 degrees and 41 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces. And this officially marked the beginning of eclipse season. Although for me, I already felt with the full moon that we had in the middle of the month, that would have been in uh Leo. I started feeling the eclipse energy at that point. Although I'm getting Neptune transits, maybe that's why I'm really picking up on all of the energy. But with that said, we are now in eclipse season, where it's a very heightened sense of activity and energy. You could have trouble sleeping. There are big reveals. Sometimes things get brought to light that you had no idea about, and sometimes things have been building for a while that you haven't dealt with, or maybe it just hasn't happened yet, and then it just explodes or implodes, or it reaches fruition. But sometimes it can be, eclipses are very dramatic. They're like dramatic wild cards. A lot is happening in a very short period of time, but some of it you did have an idea about, like with those type of eclipses. But sometimes it can be kind of like Uranus. It's completely out of the blue, and it changes your life, and it shakes you up and wakes you out of complacency. And we have a lot at play because this new moon yesterday had a lineup of points in Pisces. Obviously, the sun and the moon were conjunct in order to form a new lunar cycle of new beginnings and working with dreams. And I want to emphasize that during this very chaotic and frenetic time period, this couple of months ahead, you really want to tap into your imagination, to your self-care. You don't want to be reactive. We're going to have Venus and Mercury both retrograding initially in the sign of Aries, which is very impulsive, can't speak today. Mercury's in Pisces, so a lot of us can't speak. So, they both retrograde in Aries, which is very impulsive. It's driven by Mars. Wants to take charge. It wants to move ahead. A retrograde is obviously a time of reflection. So both Venus, which is a personal planet that only retrogrades once every year and a half, and Mercury, which is also a personal planet that retrogrades 3 times a year, they're both translating the stories of these eclipses from last fall and from now. And they're both retrograding around the same points in Aries and then stationing direct in Pisces. And their personal planets translating a lot. And yet eclipses are a time of fast, rapid change, kind of like Uranus transits. So there will be major reveals. There will be major endings in Pisces season. There are a lot of endings. And bear in mind that in the new moon chart that occurred just yesterday, there were many points in Pisces, the sun and the moon, Mercury, which is in Pisces, where it is technically in its detriment because it rules the opposite sign of Virgo. And it's illogical in Pisces, but it's where, as Anne Ortley said, and I agree, there are no words. It's trusting your feelings, your intuition, the messages that come to you. Many are having very potent dreams, and Mercury will have an extended stay in the sign of Pisces. So let's figure out. So we've got Mercury there now. We've got Saturn at the last decan of Pisces, and we've got Neptune in the North Node at the last degrees of Pisces. So many endings are occurring. This is the final sign of the zodiac, and it is a sign of endings, but the new moon energy is definitely about initiating new things you want to magnetize and manifest with your imagination, with tapping into the higher expression of Neptune, healing yourself, getting more rest and self-care, helping others. I've talked about this at length, but Shiat, Scheat, is the fixed star That's at 29 degrees of Pisces, the final degree of the zodiac. Neptune is just a degree off from there now, and the North Node is at 27 degrees of Pisces. So they're at the last degrees, many endings, but also people struggling with mental health. That can be, Pisces itself can be connected with, on the more challenging expression, self-undoing or self-sabotage or escapism in a more unhealthy way. There can be, right now, many of us are going to want to escape sometimes, whether it's listening to music or doing a creative project. That's a lovely escape route. That's something where you create magic, or watching some good series you enjoy on Netflix, or movies, or whatever it is that gets you out of this reality we're in, which is pretty crazy right now. So, there are healthy escapes, and I think realistically engaging in that is a good thing. Journaling your dreams. I've been asking a lot of clients lately, if there's an issue going on, have you had a big dream recently? And a lot of times they'll say yes. Not always, but recently they've definitely been saying yes. And often the dream is pretty explicit, whether it's literal or more metaphoric, of what they're grappling with. And the answer is in the dream in some form, or how they feel about it is in the dream more than they're aware of. And all of this energy, on some level, you can feel like you don't know what's going on. It can be extremely confusing, and yet other times you get incredible clarity, because eclipses do uncover things and bring things to light. Pisces season, well, the lower expression of Pisces is hidden information or deception. And so again, we've got Mercury in Pisces, and it's going to enter Aries, the sign of Aries, on March 3rd at 4:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will retrograde on March 15th in the middle of eclipse season. I haven't even talked about Venus retrograde. This is funny. That's happening tomorrow, but let's just get to where I'm going. So Mercury is going to retrograde in the middle of March, right the day after the first eclipse, which is a total lunar eclipse at 23 degrees and 56 minutes of Virgo, answering back to the total lunar eclipse, which was the first one in Pisces at 25 degrees and 50 minutes of Pisces, that occurred on September 17th. Many of you, if there were big events that happened last September, October, during the last eclipse season, now we pick up where we left off. That was the first eclipse in Pisces. We're going to have the final eclipse in the Aries Libra axis, because on March 29th, we will have a solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees of Aries. And this is what's interesting too, because again, we've got Mercury retrograding in the middle of the month at 9 degrees and 36 minutes of Aries, just 36 minutes off from where the solar eclipse occurs on March 29th. So getting lots of information. Eclipses already give us lots of information. And again, if there were things that are still pending from last fall, maybe you're going to get more answers or completion with what you were dealing with last fall. Mars entered its shadow on October 2nd, which was the last eclipse in Libra, and it will clear its shadow on May 2nd when it gets to 6 degrees of Leo, where it reached on where it was when it retrograded on December 6th. But we're getting lots of information. We've got Mercury in Pisces, which, like I am, is going all over the place, yet it may not be linear, but it's giving a lot of information. Pay attention on the vibes, on how people are acting. And again, check in on people that have mental health issues, because this is going to be a big focus. Neptune in the North Node, the last degrees of Pisces, summon us to help those that cannot help themselves. This is where many that are hanging on by a thread may pass over. Pisces is a sign of endings. Neptune can give relief. But we're going to have Mercury meeting up with Neptune at 1:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. And we have the Sun squaring Jupiter on 11:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to have the Sun square Jupiter on Sunday. So this Pisces energy is going to feel very lost and confusing and emotional. and work with your dreams. If you're feeling fear, which is the lower form of Neptune, or maybe the lower form of hope, you feel there is no hope, you feel fear, tap into your imagination, suspend disbelief, kind of like when you were studying Coleridge in high school, or you're learning about poetry like that. Suspend disbelief, go into fantasy, don't be delusional, because Neptune can fog our vision and delude us, but don't feel that things are impossible. There is a lot of potential, and we're still in the very early beginnings of the new age of Aquarius, which, yeah, earthquakes and fires and plane wrecks and lots of plane wrecks and inconsistency and unpredictability. That's a tone. But what about ingenuity and invention and new ways to medical advancement that could happen with lasers and other technology, and ways to learn and ways to evolve our consciousness? We are experiencing birthing pains. It doesn't have to be like this always. And yes, it may be more unpredictable, but there can be unpredictable opportunities, just like with eclipses. There will be endings, there will be job loss, there will be death, there will be breakups, but there will also be major new beginnings, major new moves, people getting promoted at their work, people taking on another level, people buying an apartment or a house, or announcing a birth. These are eclipse stories. These are big life rituals that occur in a very short period of time. Now let's get to Venus retrograde, because that occurs tomorrow, and Venus is going to retrograde at 7:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 10 degrees and 50 minutes of the cardinal fire sign of Aries. Now, we've had the eclipses, and this is the last eclipse this month in the Aries Libra axis. We've had Mars retrograde from December 6th, and it just went direct on February 23rd. Big focus on fighting for yourself, on being powerful, on being strong, yet not being reactive, not being angry, and really, to be honest, not focusing so much on self. That's not where this whole hybrid of Aquarius and Pisces leads you. You're not going to do well if you're just so self-centered in this world we're in. This is that, Venus is in its detriment in the sign of Aries, just like Mercury is in its detriment in Pisces. They're mirroring each other even in that way, because Venus rules the opposite sign of Libra, where it loves to be. In Aries, it's more self-focused. It may chase and be too aggressive. This is about tempering that, in a sense that, yes, you want to focus on empowering yourself, on being courageous in a difficult time. And I think those eclipses were urging us to do that. The North Node of Karma was in Aries up until January 12th of this year. You do have to have courage to fight for yourself, but now we're focusing on the collective. We have to heal together. Aquarius, and the higher expression and vibration, is community, is coming together to, brainstorm new ways for us to evolve and learn and ascend. And in Pisces, it's about magic and dreams and manifestation and crystals and beautiful things, creativity, music. That concert, again, Fire Aid, was when there was a pile up of points in Pisces, and Neptune was conjunct the North Node, and Venus in Pisces, where it was exalted and so beautiful, was there. Well, now Venus is retrograde, and it's funny because today I know they're doing they're doing the financial blackout today. We're not getting political. I shouldn't have said that, but Venus is money, so we're focusing on how we're spending our money. And I do want to say in the comments, not to get political, because my intent is for us to come together. And I know there are big things happening and there's a lot of disruption, but you're reevaluating your finances. In the United States, it's tax season, and Venus will be retrograde through April 12th, through, tax day is April 15th, so you got 3 days. And but it's reevaluating what you spent last year. It's reevaluating how you can charge ahead with enthusiasm, but not be so self-focused on it. And then Venus will return to Pisces on March 29th, which is the day of the final eclipse in Aries, which is at 9 degrees of Aries, speaking to where Mercury retrogrades in Aries. and also close to where Venus retrograded in Aries. And and Mercury will no Venus will return to Pisces, that to 29 degrees to Shiat. Venus is exalted. Unlike Venus in Aries, Venus loves being in Pisces. It's magical and beautiful and selfless and creative and dreamy. And this is, Venus will be in Pisces through April 30th. So it's going to return to Pisces where it loves to be. It will station direct on April 12th at 24 degrees and 38 minutes of Pisces. So again, we're speaking back to, let's say, between 24 and 26 degrees of Pisces, because when Mercury retrogrades on March 15th, it's going to retrograde at it's going to retrograde in Aries, but when it stations direct, rather, on April 7th, it's going to be at 26 degrees and 49 minutes of Pisces. So within, almost 2 degrees of where Venus stations direct. Both are close to where the total lunar eclipse at 25 degrees and 50 minutes of Pisces last September, where that occurred. It's also close to where Neptune was a few years ago, close to where Neptune is now, really. And then Saturn and the North Node of Fate are going to meet up together in the sky on April 21st at 26 degrees and 51 minutes of Pisces. So right by where Mercury stations in April, we're close to where Venus, close to where the eclipses are. We are these themes between 24 and 26, let's say almost 27 degrees of Pisces, 9 and 11 degrees of Aries. And, this is a big deal. We're reevaluating how we can move forward. And again, Venus does love being in Pisces. So that will be magical. Co-create with this energy. We're going to have Mercury returning to Pisces on March 27th. We're going to have Venus return. I know it's in Pisces right now, but it will retrograde in the middle. It's going to enter Aries in a few days. So it's going to return to Pisces on March 27th. Venus returns on March 29th. Venus remains in the sign of Pisces then through April 30th, and Mercury will remain in Pisces through April 16th, the day after tax day, and then it enters Aries, where it'll be through May 10th. But a lot of reflection during a time of fast, rapid change, which has been the tone of the year. The new age of Aquarius. Every time the moon enters Aquarius, it meets up with Pluto. A personal planet enters Aquarius, it meets up with Pluto. This is bringing tremendous change. Mars is still out of bounds and through April 7th, which is the day that Mercury stations direct. So there's still that intensity, but at least it's direct. And, we have one more day and then Venus will be retrograde, but they were in their shadow. But we had this 5-day window when they were all direct. So good luck. Take care. I gave you an earful, but what else is new? Bye-bye.